We want to talk it over with criminal defense attorney Bernard Brody. He represents clients accused of sexual abuse. So thank you very much,
Thanks for having
Mr.
me.
Brody, for being with us. First and foremost, I'm curious, if you were Jerry Sandusky's client, would you have encouraged him or allowed him to do that interview with Bob Costas on television?
It sounds crazy. I have had clients in the past ask me if they could be interviewed by the media. I've always told them no. It's against every rule that we believe in as criminal defense lawyers. This case, though, is unprecedented. I have never seen a case with such an immediate, overwhelmingly one-sided view of the case. I mean, there isn't anybody in the public that believes that he's innocent or believes that he could be innocent. So when you have a situation like this, one thing as an attorney that you need to recognize is that the people watching TV, some of them are potential jurors. And, you know, while experts can critique the video, the interview with Costas and say, well, he just looks guilty, you never know how a juror is going to perceive that interview. And what you may find out is that a year down the road when they are at trial, there may be some jurors that say, you know, he had nothing to hide. And so that could be the one positive that comes out of this for Sandusky.
So you think that when this goes to trial, and you believe it will go to trial, that interview, we're going to see a lot more of that interview, that's going to be played in court?
It could be. A lot of it's going to depend on evidentiary rulings before trial. There could be an argument by the defense that since there has technically been no admission to the actual charges in the indictment, that it's not admissible. The state, of course, will argue that just the mannerisms in the interview or the answers that he gave do make certain admissions that are relevant at trial. So that'll be battled out with the lawyers prior to trial.
You made a great point, and I think one of the things people have they're so passionate about this, possibly on one side, is because not only do you have children who have come forward, but you've got an adult, a 28-year-old man who said, "This is what I saw." How do you tackle something like that seems to be so solid? Because it's rare, is it not? In child abuse cases, in child sexual abuse cases, not just to have more than just the child's version of what happened.
It is rare. It's rare to have an eyewitness in a child sexual abuse allegation. Now, what we know right now is very little. All we know is there has been a grand jury finding that Mike McQuarrie stated that this is what he saw and this is what he told the employees at the university. However, we haven't actually heard his testimony before the grand jury. We haven't even heard statements he made to the police, if any. For instance,
the New York Times had a whole article yesterday about a conversation that he had with police in a secluded parking lot somewhere.
Sure.
About the secrecy from when he finally came forward a year ago.
Right. And, and all of this right now is speculation. What we need to know as defense lawyers, we need to actually see the evidence. We need to see if there was a recorded interview with him. Are there notes from police officers about an interview with him? All of this is going to be contained in the discovery, in the evidence that will be turned over to the defense lawyers. And a lot of it may get discussed at this preliminary hearing. So the preliminary hearing could shed a lot of light on the reliability and the credibility of McQuarrie.
But, Gene just said, this is a circumstantial case. I mean, this has been over a 13-year period. So what kind of evidence, other than he said, might there be out there?
Well, I don't think there is going to be any other evidence.
Right.
We're not going to have physical evidence.
Right.
We're not going to have any video footage of any alleged incidents. What we're going to have here is we're going to have essentially a credibility match between McQuarrie, these alleged victims, and Jerry Sandusky. And when you have a case like this, where you have what we call delayed disclosure, where you have alleged victims that are basically alleging that they were abused many, many years ago and never disclosed this abuse, you always have to be very careful, because inherent in any delayed disclosure is going to be the possibility that the reason why it is so delayed is because maybe that person wasn't abused.
But we've got 8 people now that we know have come forward, eight people who were cited in the grand jury presentation. Then you've got this possibility that there are more people coming forward. We've heard reports that possibly 10 other people have come forward with this. Their stories are the same. They're people who didn't know each other. How do you battle that in court, that seems almost invincible to me.
It does, because all we're looking at right now is the end result. We are looking at the statement that was made at the end of the investigation to the grand jury. What we're not looking at right now, but will be looked at under a microscope, is the evolution of these alleged victims' statements from their inception all the way up into the grand jury. And that's called the disclosure process. It's very unlikely that all of these alleged victims, the first time they ever communicated anything about this abuse, communicated exactly what they told that grand jury.
Well, okay, so you've got the children, then you've got McQuarrie, who gave his statements. He said he told Paterno. Paterno admitted that he told him something, and then it went to Curley, and so on and so on and so on. When you've got something, too, like this, where a lot of outside people, again, we're just seeing it on a very surfaced element right now, when they're just seeing this much of the case, you wonder, A, if there was a cover-up, and B, if any of these people are going to start throwing each other under the bus. I mean, do you ever have to deal with a situation where somebody finally says, okay, it happened, I'm done, I can't stand it anymore, or they're also saying, I'm not going down with you?
Well, I think that one of the strategies here, by charging the other university officials with making the false statements, is to possibly force a situation where that happens. Does an athletic director want to go to jail? No. And so there's a very strong possibility that if that is the case, that a deal may be struck at some later point.
Okay, and I wanted to talk to you about a plea deal, but I think we're going to be able to talk about that in a bit. We ran out of time here, but I think we're talking to you in just a little while. So he's sticking around with us. Thank you so much,
You're very
Mr.
welcome.
Brody.